Hello, beautiful beings. How are we doing today? Hey, Rog, Stan, Clarity, Denise, Paul, Sharon, Sunny. We're grateful to have you all here. And I want to begin today with saying, let's have this an interactive conversation with Wilhelm, Roger, me, Stan, right? Also, feel free to type into the chat your thoughts, and remember that the questions are going to be in the Q&A section later. So, but I'll be able to be in contact with you during the session and to, yeah, just keep the vibes high in the chat room. Wow, now you can become more of yourself, or you can be more of yourself now. And we can always just do this in the now, right? When we're in the past, we're not here. When we're in the future, we're not here. So let's set an intention for us all to be in this present moment of time, right here in this space, with all of the beautiful beings, just like you, in this room, in this space right now. So let's close our eyes together. Take a few deep breaths into the belly through the nose, inhaling in through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. And just take a few more deep inhales in your own speed through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. And do this one more time, just for yourself. And whilst you're doing this, just feel yourself becoming more and more present. Feel your feelings, feel everything that your body is coming up with right now, and just allow it to be just as it is. Today, you will receive cosmic information that you can apply, or universal information that you can apply anytime. So I ask you, what is your intention for today? Are you seeking to receive answers? Do you have any questions about your life, where you're meant to go, who you are, what you're meant to do in this life? Whatever that question might be for you, just place it right now in your heart and set the intention to receive answers whilst Wilhelm is talking to you, to have that question answered. I believe if you listen closely and you listen with your entire being, not just with your head, with your brain, your ears, but listen also with your heart. Listen with your heart, listen with your entire being, your energetic system even. Right? Just allow the information that Wilhelm is giving you today. Allow yourself to place that information inside your heart, so that your heart knows what you do best with this information. It might be a lot, it might be just perfect, but just allow any information that comes for you to put this information in your heart, and allow the answers to come to you. There's nowhere you need to go. There's nothing you need to try. Just listen and set the intention to receive answers of the question that you have. All my love to you. Let's have some fun. Let's stay in our hearts. Connect with each other, all of us in this room. Let's connect with our hearts and make this a beautiful time all together. Let's go.
Thank you so much, and we're ready to begin. And as we say each and every time, we have waited for you your entire lives. And we know that today you're going to understand that a lot more because we went to extraordinary lengths to bring you this information. First of all, we had it scrolling on the screen so you could understand that you are always in this state of evolving and becoming more. And you do that by becoming yourself. That is the plan that you were given to be on the earth at this time. Now, we will explain all of this because we have said you're moving through a restructuring, which means that you chose to be alive during this time on your planet because you have something so valuable and wonderful to bring to your world that would help it ascend. That's what's happening now. You're having a planetary ascension, is what we've told you. And we've given you this information over decades, but now you'll start to understand it a bit more. You progress in your consciousness. You don't do it out in your physical world, you do it in your spiritual world, which is in your consciousness. And not all will do that, but we know that you will because that's why you're listening to us. You have never been in an accidental place. When we had our being, put up the message. We did it yesterday because we wanted you to have it for today. We said, please go back and look at everything that we've given you over the last several years since 2012 on this date of November 27th. And you will wonder, well, how could that have been? That it could have all made sense coming to today because you are individual beings who are connected to source. You have a divine plan. It's within you and it unfolds a bit at a time. You don't do it all at once, which is why we want you to let go of your regret and your judgment of what you have not done yet because you're in process. You're always in process because you are eternal spiritual beings. Now, you incarnate at specific times because it will fulfill some aspect of your individual evolutionary path because you each have one. It'll be connected to all those who came before, your ancestors, your ancestry, your DNA. It's all included. Your genetics. It's all included, and you each figure that out at the correct time for your path. But we will say that you're here now on your planet because you wanted to make the world better. We know that doesn't make sense to many of you, but that's why you're here. And how you do that is becoming who you're meant to be, and that is taking the next step and owning who you are. It's always about just loving who you are. But to get there, you have to let go of all the old stuff. So what we did, we wanted to give you some example because we use Roger's life as an example for all of you. That's what we've done all of these decades. And still, as Yarna said, you wanted answers, but we've given you all the answers, but sometimes you don't accept them. So we thought we would be a little more explicit today. The other day on your Thanksgiving, which we said the United States would celebrate that, many other countries are doing something similar. That's because you understand the importance of gratitude. When you can you appreciate who you are and what you have been given, then you create more of that. Everything is energy, which is why we've been continually keeping you to understand that you are directing that energy in your lives, and then you cause that to happen in your world. Now you're moving through this big restructuring, as we've said, and it looks really chaotic. This is why you've had wars, which we told you could come up. That all depends on what you choose to do. Your planets are moving and changing, and you're all affected by it. This is why we do our conversations on days like today when you're having a full moon, because it's incredibly powerful, and you're going to see certain things that you're not going to like, but you have others that you will. And we wanted you to focus on who you are, and that is loving yourselves. As you do that, you cause the change to happen in your world. Now, we're going to talk about what's happening in Israel and Palestine right now, or Gaza, as you've called it, because that's been changed around. But as you're looking at that now, you're trying to resolve those old grievances. Those grievances exist in each of you. It's not just one group, it's all of you. And this is what we wanted you to understand. So when you remove yours, when you move beyond yours, then you add a new energy into your world, and then the planet starts to look a little different. Now you're going to take a while because many of you don't like to change. Again, we've been giving you this information for the longest time, but you find it hard to believe, which is why we had in the message there that you will see later. You'll find it on our site because we wanted the entire thing to be there because you think things are happening accidentally, and they never are. It just is the time when you start to understand how important you are. And we had you do something. We want you to do it again now, and that's to touch yourself. Just put something on your, just touch yourself anywhere. That's you. You're an important being who came onto the planet because you mattered, because you had something to offer, but you had to move through the old stuff. So last night, we even took our being back to understanding that he had his great grandfather, great great grandfather, and great 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 grandfathers were slaves. That is an energy that had been ingested within him. He didn't even investigate that history, which we've said to many of you that when you investigate your history, then you can let go of it and move beyond because that's what you're doing. You're ascending, and that's what your planet is attempting to do. Now, we will say that we've done some really great work because many of you have started to understand this. And so the energy on this day is a little different. And so you're going to look at what's going on in that conflict and you're going to see, wait a minute, they stopped for a moment. Maybe we're going to let go of our old grievances, but that can only happen when you decide to do it within yourself. And that is owning who you are and becoming more of yourself because you were born this perfect being. You were born with all the attributes, all the qualities, all the skills, all the talents that you could possibly need to create this wonderful, magnificent life. And then when you do that, you create this greater world that you all want to see. As we've said, if you look at your history over hundreds and hundreds of years, you see it doesn't operate in the same way that it did before. That's because over time, you bring in particular beings like the one you're looking at now, who has information and who has lived a life where he could bring in higher states of awareness and demonstrate it because he's healed his life, he's healed everything and demonstrated to all of you, but still the belief is what matters most. You cannot manifest what you find difficult to believe. And we have been saying these things for the longest time because we wanted to point out the lack of belief that you have in yourself. That's all. It's all of you. But you have this great, wonderful path that you're meant to live now. And then we took him back to something else too. See, you have childhood memories that you may come to them, but you have ancient memories as well, which are connected to lives beyond what you know now. We know that many of you have trouble understanding that you have had many, many lives, because we said to you also that if you don't understand that, you would have a very difficult time explaining evolution. You would, because how did information become created? Where did it come from? It's always been there. But when you have a physical life, you then decide that you're going to take some of that information, that infinite intelligence, as we've said, and then you're going to put yourself into it, and you're going to create something that you will give back to your world that causes it to expand and evolve, which is why you're having a planetary ascension now. And you have never done this before, which is why it feels so challenging for many of you, but we wanted you to understand that it was a great thing that you did. You took on roles. Now, many of you have had these, what you felt to be difficult life paths. And we wanted you, and we've said it often, that we would rather you think of dharma rather than karma, but many of you have that belief that you're being punished for something. But if you would also to accept that you accepted the thing that you feel that you're being punished for, when you accept that, and then you say, oh, but I can change it. And you can because you change everything in your consciousness. You're in physical bodies, but you exist in spirit, in consciousness. This is why we are bringing you information that always resonates for you, because when we speak to you, we're accessing that little memory that you have about your importance, that little memory that you have that says you are connected to God, to source, to all that is. Whatever terminology that you might use, you are all connected to that. And so when we took Roger back to his childhood, which he had a very faint memory of something that occurred in his life. And then we love the fact that many of you have this technology now where you can search things and you can find information that you had no access to before. He didn't have this when we first started giving him this information in 1988. So it was a little more challenging for him to accept. But many of you have these facilities now that you don't use. So we had him go back and find this faint memory that he had when he was a child. And what it was his father working for someone who was an Orthodox Jew, by the way, who was doing things that did not serve the greater good for all that is. And that energy that has been within his body has caused him to continually want to make things better because he's trying to correct what his father did, even though his father was doing it because he felt he had to. He had to support his family. Many of you have been in those positions. This is why we want you to understand you're doing things now that you feel maybe this isn't my calling, but I have to do something to get beyond where I am. But the thing that we want you to understand is the energy of what you're doing. What is your intention? When your mind is on your intention and that intention is of love, then you're going to create something much greater in yourselves and in your world. And this is where we've been guiding you this entire time. Now, we will say that Roger had that earlier memory when he was a child, and that condition that his ancestors, his father, and all the others brought forth, but he moved through them all. This is why we put him into situations, we allowed him to move into situations where he could see the truth of who he was and not hold any grievances. He had all, when he was in grade school, all of his friends were Jewish. So that was healed. And then and then he went to high school and had, most of them were Black. It was all of them. You were all human beings and doings. That's all. And you come to understand this eventually over time and over your civilization. Because you're all trying to get back to this sense of oneness, but you're going to fight about it. And you're going to fight about it a little bit more right now, only because of the energies in your world. But if you understand that you can change that, and the way that you change it is by loving yourselves, that just doesn't seem to make sense to you, but we're telling you that's exactly how it works. When you take the science of everything that happens in your life and in your world, and you understand that everything is energy, you direct it, every soul does, and you just decide how much you're going to direct it into the direction of what you want rather than what you don't want. And you do that by letting go of what was old and those energetic threads that have been connected to all of you through your ancestors, through all those who have come before, because you are here now to create something new. And as we've said, we gave you all this information, as we said in 2012, but that was challenging for many of you to accept as well, because you have limited awareness and you don't understand that everything is happening in the now. And linear time is something you use in your physical life experience to keep track of where you're going. We don't need that because we can see everything that's going on. But right now, you're at a place, a really critical place, where it is far more important for you to accept and become more of yourself, because you are brilliant beings and you just have to take each step along the way, and that is something that is in front of you. Now, we also want to say this because many of you have felt like you're on this path, this spiritual path, and you've been doing it forever, and you should have been done. That's the problem. You're never done. You're just moving to another level. Now, but then there's resistance. And our being, he demonstrates resistance so much. And we've proven that to you as well. Again, we said we went through all these links. We had him go back and find two recordings, one that was done a year ago and another one that was done 2 years ago. None of you had seen them. But then we said, just put them up now because now they'll hear what we said. You must understand that we give him he has precognitive sense where he can bring in information, and that's how he's healed everything within his life. That's how he's done everything. That's how he's created the work that we are giving to all of you. It doesn't make him any better or different. It's just that he chose this in this particular lifetime, which we've explained before. And if you listen to those recordings, which are now on his YouTube channel, you can hear what we told you a year or 2 years ago that will resonate for you today, and it'll make sense because you have a memory, you have a connection, you have a divine plan. It's always there, and you just unfold it a bit at a time. That's all. This is why we wanted you to be patient, because you have not moved into that next level. None of you have. Otherwise, you'd be done. There'd be no reason for you to still exist. See, because you have something that is continually evolving, and that's your eternal selves. However, in this physical world, in this 3D world, you're supposed to be happy. You're supposed to be abundant. You're supposed to have everything that you want. And when you decide to move through the old stuff, the restrictions, then you will have that. This is why we've said we've given you an ascension plan. And we've done that. And we've proven it because you can see so many people who have done this work and are now understanding so much more about themselves. You each can do that. When you understand in your path, you develop something and then you give it to others. And that's how your world evolves. However, not all will do that. And this is why you're going to find now many who are going to want the old world to stay, which is why you have the conflict in the world and the wars. And we gave you all of those so many years ago. But now, as you're seeing them, it's causing you to awaken a bit more, which is always our intention, just to cause you to awaken. And what you awaken to is your brilliance. And there's so many of you have judged yourself that you haven't made the correct contribution, that is not big enough, that you don't, none of that matters. It's energy. We must get you to understand it's energy that you access in every moment of now. And that energy is of love. Yes, you have difficult things that you needed to move through, but we've given you a plan for that too. We've shown you how to move over it because you do it in your consciousness and you do it a bit at a time. This is why we laid out all those messages on this day. Now, we know it's difficult for you to accept that we could have picked a particular day. Well, we've done it before. We've given you other messages where we said, listen, we use these dates because, again, as humans, you will rely on linear time. So we know that's a lot more effective. And so we said, look, we gave you these messages over all of these years, but as you read them all together, you feel something happened different. Oh, now I understand. Now I'm in a greater sense of awareness of who I am. How did that happen? It happened because caused you to access your brilliance. That's all. And you will have more of it because it's never done. You never fulfill your potential because it's everlasting. There's so much more of it. But you think that if you haven't done something, that it's all over. And we're saying that's never the case. And we're showing you a being who has done the same thing. So we're being completely transparent because he stopped. And if you listen to the other recordings, this is why we put them up there. We told him that we'd given him so much information that he could keep going and transform your entire world. That's challenging for you each to believe because you don't believe how powerful you are. And we're saying that each of you but what we're doing now is collectively bringing more of you together to just create this enormous volume of love and prosperity in your world, and that's what will change everything. And the only difficulty is you will have a difficult time believing it. However, understand that ascension is this part of you do it at a bit at a time, and every time you move to the next level of who you are, you start to access this particular state that you had not known. Oh, let's say this, because many of you have been so surprised at what's coming up for you recently over the last several years. And you started making moves in different directions that you didn't completely understand. That's because you were being called to access and become more of yourself, as we're saying today. That's what's been happening over the last several years. Now, you could have felt it a lot more in the past 3 to 4 years, but we're saying if you go back and look at everything that we've given you since 2012, as we have on the screen, you will understand that it's been far longer. But it's a generational change that is happening now. And again, you can go through and study all of the science on this, and you can see that these certain things haven't happened in thousands and thousands of years, which is why it's uncomfortable because you don't like the unknown. You don't like the unknown in your world or in yourselves. But we say all the time, the unknown is where everything is that you want. So you have to become willing to take that step. And this is why we asked you, let's say, to take the next step into who you're meant to become, because that's going to be this avalanche of love that starts to come onto your planet, which is the only thing that we wanted you to do. And we had this dream. We have this mission. And we led him back to remember, our messenger led him back to remembering his dream about how he was going to cause the world to be better because he was going to have so many of you start to love and own yourselves. But he did the same thing that many of you do. You don't move to the next level, and then you keep trying to do something that's against all odds, working with those who are not going to agree with you, who are not going to understand you, and many of you are feeling that now. Many of you have found these things in your families and in your friends that you're not in the same alignment as they are now. That's okay. And this is why we're going to be talking much more about relationships, because you're going to need to understand that process over this, especially this next year, as your planet continues to change and evolve, which is what you're all doing. And so every relationship that you have had has served you, but sometimes they don't serve you continuing on your evolutionary journey. And that's what we're going to speak about much more. However, you're supposed to decide that you're going to love yourself, forgive everyone else who you think has done something that shouldn't be. That's none of your business. What is your business is to own and forgive yourselves. You're supposed to love and forgive yourselves for everything that you thought you did wrong, or your ancestors. As we said, this is why we brought up these particular stories, because you all have this, it's in your DNA. where you were limited in some way. We could take you back centuries that you could see that that is within you. It's also why we've advised many of you to have your DNA test done. So if you can just see just through your physical blood that you're connected to so much more than what you ever knew, it gives you a greater sense that you're correct connected to this greater spirit or God or all that is, which you all are. It just takes you a while before you understand that. And it takes a while for your collective society and civilizations to understand that. And this time, we're not letting that go. We're saying this because you have lost civilizations before. You've blown them up. You've gotten rid of them because not enough people were willing to love and own who they were and to see the same in others. This is why we have given you all of our work. And let's explain that, what this work was. And we have it, this is why we have it on the board. Your life operating instructions, that is a philosophy. It's a new philosophy which says every soul is born onto the physical plane with worth, value, and purpose. And all you must do is uncover what that is. And the way that you do that is by letting go of the old. And as you do that, you start to experience this magnificent life experience, and you have everything that you want, and you give that back to others. You are not in physical bodies forever. You come for a particular time, but what you do during that time is the most vital thing for your planet. And what we are saying is this time in your planet is when you meant to access your worth, and that is becoming more of yourself. There's nothing about you that was less than another. It's just that you come to accept it when you're ready. And we are saying that because it takes some time. Even with our being, he couldn't accept that he had done all of this in his life and he could give it back to others. That didn't make sense. It is what you all do. And all he is doing is being a guide and a teacher, which is part of his evolutionary path. And you each have one. And as you start to own that, there's this great shift of energy that will happen in your world. Now, we want to now open for questions because we want to get in as many as we can today because this is a critical time in your life and we want to be sure that we're giving you the answers that you were seeking as you are so lovingly brought up today. So let's go there.
Okay, so the Q&A button is now live, everybody. The way that this works is you click on the Q&A button, ask your question, and then I will ask it on your behalf for Wilhelm to
Mm.
answer. And we're already getting questions in. Here's the first one. Greetings, Wilhelm and way showers. I'm working on a violet flame meditation and healing class. I know it's going to help everyone who chooses to accept it, but I'm having such resistance in finishing it, but I'm also excited about it. How do I overcome this resistance so I can bring this to the world?
Oh, you said it all in that wonderful question that you stated, and those who will accept it. This is what we said. You're fighting against, first of all, you have to accept it yourself because that's what you're really having the trouble with because you were given something that seems a little more enormous than what you thought you could do. That's where you are. So you have to accept that first. And then you have to recognize and truly believe that the right people, we're saying that to use a subjective term, but the correct people, the right people will show up for your product and they will once you accept it. That's all. Because see, your opening statement was worrying about what others would accept instead of knowing and believing what you have been given because it was part of your path. And we want you to just go into believing that and knowing, keeping that firm, that faith that you all you seek, that faith that the correct people, the right people who will receive what you have brought in because you have done it, they will receive it. And so just understand that, and you're there's a thing that like with our being here, he does the same thing. He thinks that everyone's going to do this work and they are not. And you might be moving through that process as well. So just accept it yourself because you've done something really wonderful. And we're very pleased that you have brought this into the world. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that question. And yes, please ask your questions, bring any and all, and it doesn't matter what question, how broad or how personal. We want to hear from you. I have been focused on ancient beings like Thoth, Hermes, Isis, and
Mm.
philosophies and practices like Hermetic and a word that I can't pronounce. Is this so that I can revive these practices, or is there something else?
No, we love you so much and thank you for being here. You've just been awakened to what we've been telling you. We said that we've given you the Hermetic principles, and that's some of the oldest ideas in your civilization that you can go back to. So you have been awakened to that. That's why you're going back and listening to it. We told you, well, you might not have heard this, but we were mentioning years ago where we had our being watched some ancient documentaries because it kept awakening something within him. And then he had to go get some more help to understand that, yes, he had this ancient memory, which you do as well, which is why you were being guided. Your higher self is guiding you to see these things. And so just understand that you have been given a wonderful, wonderful path to follow, and you're just being given more information. As we've said, you all come in and you have infinite intelligence. It's existed since humans have been on the earth, but you access it at different times on your path, and then you give it on to others. Not all of you will do it in the same way, but what you have been brought to is the memory of this ancient wisdom where you loved one another, where you were all one. This goes back that far. And now you're going to bring in this new awareness in your particular way. That's why you're being guided there. And so please keep studying. We love it. Thank you.
I have animals and people visiting me in their astral bodies, and it seems so real versus dreaming about them. Could you elaborate on this? Thank you.
You're going to have to figure that out because they're bringing you a message, and it's a very specific message. And it could be because we don't interpret your visions or your dreams, but we can give you inclinations of what they might be. But you have been brought in. The reason that you're seeing the animals because you each will start to make connections to all sentient beings that exist on your planet, and you have some aspect of your experience that is bringing that awareness to you. So we want you to just trust it, though. Just keep allowing the information to come in because it's in your consciousness and it's going to keep coming through. But just keep allowing it to come in and then ask it why. Ask the information, why are you coming to me now and what am I supposed to do with it? As you begin to ask those questions and wait for the answers, you will start to see that they will show up. But we want you to be patient with that because you've been given a mission here, which is going to serve the evolution of this planet. We're so happy that you're here. Thank you.
Dear beings of the light, I was told that my ex-husband and I got together so that he can heal his ancestral lineage. However, we got divorced after I met a man with whom I had a past life relationship. What can you tell me about it? Thank you.
The relationships serve their purpose when they serve their purpose. And so if you, and we would say you have a cooperative agreement. While it might look like your husband or ex-husband came into you for his reasons, but you did it too. You don't go into relationships. It's not a one-sided thing. You each have something that you're figuring out or owning or understanding on your evolutionary path, but you will come together with other individuals because that's the only way you can come to understand them. And we also felt a little bit of guilt there. We must address that because we felt it. And you please let go of that. Whatever was happened then was for the greatest good of you all. But the way that you move to the next level and accepting more of who you are is deciding to know that those experiences were helping you come to your greater understanding, your higher self. That's what's coming through. And so all of those configurations, which we've said, we have a message on that thread. You will read it and it'll address that because we've already given it to you. But it came in so that you could move to the next level. But we also want you to forgive everyone involved because we still feel that a little bit and forgive yourself most of all. And just decide that you're going to love as hard as you can. That's it. Thank you.
Remember, everybody, there is no such thing as an incorrect question. All questions are welcomed here. Yesterday, I asked the angels for a clear sign about whether I should pursue a cooperation I've been offered, which would help me move to the country I want. But instead of a confirmation sign, I got a different offer for another country. This country wasn't my first choice, but it's in an area that inspires me and may be more significant for human development. However, this would mean that I might be away from my child for longer. Why did this happen?
so that you can make the choice of what is correct for your life experience. And that's going to come from your heart. And you're never being guided in an incorrect way. You're never being led down an accidental path, but you're given choices. And this is where you all are now. You're going to make a choice, and you're going to make a choice on what is correct for you. Now, we're going to speak about your child because we feel that that's giving you a lot of concern, and we're not sure exactly what age they are, but it feels like there it might be some other solution there because you live in an age now where even separation by countries is not that big a deal. You have technology, you can keep in contact. But if you're feeling that you're really responsible there, then you must find a way that this child is understanding the choices that you might be making and why it's important for you. But you can then take care of that responsibility of taking care of them in a way so you know that they are going on their soul's journey and living the life they're supposed to have. You can do this. You can figure it out, but you need to take some time and just go into your heart and find and ask the questions of which is correct for you. But what we felt is that this new country that you didn't expect was saying that your higher self said, we want you to move in a new direction because sometimes you will focus on things that you want, but there might be something in your evolutionary journey that you need. That's very different. Need means that it's going to help you move through some evolutionary blockage that you have carried. And so sometimes this shows up so unexpectedly for many of you. And that's why it kind of freaks you out a little bit. However, trust your heart and go in and ask those questions. And whatever it is, there is a way for you to create a situation which we call a win-win situation where all involved will have the best result. But that result has to come from the love that you feel for yourself and what you can do, and just to take care of the responsibility for your child that you're still feeling a little guilty about, but you will resolve all of that. Thank you.
Wilhelm, when a soul sends a part of itself to incarnate and learn as a specific personality, what happens to that aspect when the incarnation ends and it returns to the other side? Is it recycled to become another character for a new incarnation, as if the soul or higher self is the puppet master and we are the puppets with free will? Who is the personality self in this? Much love to all.
You are. You come into the physical plane and you will have an agreement to live in this incarnation, and then you might come to a place where you're complete. And we're saying to our being, this may be his last one in physical on this earth because he's done so much. Why would he come back necessarily? But that will be a choice that he will make after he transitions, and you each have that opportunity. Now, it's hard to for many of you to understand these concepts because you're always thinking about things in physical terms. We want you to think about it in terms of consciousness because that's where your spirit eternally is. And so think of it in that way. So you always have to, and again, this is fascinating because you're trying to make choices about things before you've gotten there, which is what many of you do. You want to get to the result before you are living in the now and experiencing the journey. The journey gets you there, and then you'll be able to make whatever choice is complete, as feels right for you. You will have evolutionary paths where maybe you have come into the earth plane for so many times and you've had many different life experiences, and you say you don't want to do that anymore. You're going to live on some other planet. You're going to live in some other existence because there are many different dimensions of existence. Again, it's hard a concept because you're still thinking in physical terms. We're saying in terms of consciousness. You exist in consciousness and you can decide to stay wherever you are. When you come into the physical plane, you do so because you want to have physical life experiences because you can feel those. It's different. But you will make that choice later. But we want you to stay in this incarnation right now and just decide on what you're going to do. Prepare yourself for that transition, knowing that you will have the opportunity to make whatever choice is right for you, your soul's journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Wilhelm, and love to all. How can I support the children and young people in schools who are needing the guidance that they are? And because these are amazing beings of light, and love is working, and is it love working with the individual schools? I know I need to do some healing from my many paths. What is my plan?
That's it. That's it. You have it. You have it. Your healing is working with the kids. That's all. Because there's something in your evolutionary path, and something related to something that you have known. Could be your childhood trauma or some other lives. It doesn't matter. However, whenever you've given a vocation in this particular incarnation, it is healing something from your past. That's for all of you. You are moving through because you always have limitations and restrictions that have existed before. So whatever you choose in this lifetime is a healing. So you're doing it. And so but we also feel we just love this so much because we feel your frustration because you just want it to be bigger. You want it to be more. You know how important they are. But just trust you are doing it and just keep going in that way. You are healing them. So you don't need to do anything. We want to erase that word from you because you don't need to heal. You want to heal. That's different. And you are doing it through this work. And we are so grateful that you are because the children are the world. And that's what is going to help. The more of you who can be the example to your kids, to all those who are coming later, and show the kind of love and empathy that you can create within yourself, you give it to them. And that is your healing. And again, we're so pleased that you're doing it. Thank you.
How can I make myself feel better? I feel I am overworked in taking care of our family, work, and myself. I feel that there's no fair share in the relationship. I'm always on the go, but my other half it feels like they're lacking. I don't want to feel mad and holding grudges because I feel it's unfair.
We gave you that too. We planned all of this. We talked about your anger. That's in the message on the thread that you will see today. Because many of you are moving through that now because you're finding places where you subjugated yourselves in certain ways, and that's why you're feeling overwhelmed because you haven't been able to make choices for yourself that felt loving, that where you could take care of them. Then you would attract people who would not offer that to you, and that's okay because you brought them in so that you could awaken to the power and the beauty and the love that is within you. But we want you to start thinking about the new choices. But first of all, you must change your perspective. You must change your perspective because, see, you're judging everything, including yourself. But why did I create this situation? You did it because you wanted to evolve. And the way that you will evolve is start making new choices. Start deciding, I want to have this. And if I would love for my partner to do this. You can have a conversation. Please, I need you to step up and do this because this will help us as a team, whatever that might be. And so you can start making different choices because you're overwhelmed. And that means that you are taking on the responsibilities of others, which none of you are meant to do, but you keep trying. And so let go of that. Love yourself, change your perspective, and nothing. You weren't being punished for any of this. You just made choices that did not serve your evolution. That's all. And so now you're going to start making new ones, but we want you to do them from the place of love and just not, and we please don't blame your partner because you brought them in to help you with your evolution. It's a cooperative agreement that you all have. And so you're going to, and we just gave you so much that you're going to start making changes and we can feel it already. And it's going to be a wonderful outcome. So thank you for asking that question.
I have begun acting on the relaunch of a project that I discussed with Roger a few months ago. I am aware of the incredible changes that occurred with the previous group of ladies, which gives me confidence. However, I still feel uncertain about my ability to deliver the same value or more to the new group of ladies I aim to serve. What's the best way to overcome this fear of judgment and potentially my own insecurity?
We've given it to you. You're looking at him. We've given it to you. You are never going to feel secure. You're never going to feel that. You got to take the step. That's all. This is the way it works. You talk about the law of attraction all the time. Many of you do, and you still don't understand the process. See, the law of attraction says that you're going to bring in the right people that are going to be for this next group of ladies. It can't happen any other way. You just have to take the steps. And so your insecurity is because you're stepping into this unknown because you were successful in what you were doing before and you saw that working, you saw that coming about. We gave you that message as well. And when you read through the thread, we will tell you, we showed you where Roger mother was getting all these positive results, but still had the doubt. You all do that, but that's okay. You'll take the next step in your ascension journey, which is what we're talking about today, and the right people will show up. And so we want to get over the fear. Just do it. This is where you have to just jump in. This is why we wanted you to accept more of yourself. So don't worry. You're going to be so surprised. And we've given you this story. We gave there was a time in 1988 when we first began coming through. One of Roger's coaches said the same thing. Says, listen, I didn't know anything, but then the right people came to me, and then I developed, and then it grew from there. And that's who you are. So we just need, yeah, it feels a little uncomfortable. You think you're not capable, and you are more than capable because you've already built the foundation with what you did before. These are the building blocks that you each have in your lives of the things that you have done. You gain information, wisdom, and then you take it to the next level. And that's what you're doing. And so, yes, you're going to have a little bit of trepidation and fear because, again, you have to step into that unknown. This is why we keep talking about birth, because you're birthing a new planet now and you're birthing a new you. So, yes, it's going to be a little uncomfortable, but the glorious thing that happens is that you will have that birth and that child will come out and you're going to be so pleased that you did it. We just want you to do it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that question. And just letting you all know that we still have room for a couple of more questions before we close off the Q&A. So please keep asking your questions. Dear Wilhelm, once I woke up spiritually, I have learned so much, and I feel that because of what I know so far, I cannot wait to have more open communications with spirit. And I'm not satisfied with just knowing. I want to experience a more visceral interaction with spirit. How can I go about developing that relationship?
Well, again, we've given you all of that information. You do it day by day. We've given you we've given you a being who demonstrated the process because that's what he did, and which is why we keep um talking about this. He didn't receive all of us and all of this information overnight. He started in 1988 and he sat down and he did it every day. And then he started to trust more, which was always a challenge. He started to trust the communication. Now, for you, you are hearing such clear communication, but you're just not really trusting it yet. And you're thinking you're kind of rushing to try to get somewhere. We would like for you to just embrace each day the information that's coming through, because then it has a cumulative effect of causing you to come into this place of ownership. And then what you're going to do with that is going to become apparent. It's going to be made known to you. But just trust it right now because it's just opened up. You've moved into a new portal in your evolutionary path. And we're so thrilled about that. But don't rush it. Just keep nurturing it and bringing it forth. And then you're going to have more information about what you are meant to do next, because that's what's coming up. And and as you will see, we gave you a message on that in the thread today about take the next step. That's all. And so you are in that, but you've just opened up to a whole new thing. Oh, this is so wonderful. And yeah, we're not going to give you what you're going to do, but you're going to get a sense of how you're going to work with this, because your planet is awaiting for you to own all of this, and that is becoming who you're meant to be. So thank you for what you're doing.
Hi, I have a hard time believing in myself enough to break poverty consciousness.
Mhm.
Do you have any insight? Thank you.
Yes, and that is consciousness again, which is why we told you the first story when we started. This is why we led Roger back to seeing the imprint that he had. You all have this, okay? And so this is why we talked about the slavery. There wasn't the control of money was not to be given to certain people. It's a consciousness that is within all of you. And then we told you about the other things that were being done that were not for the greatest good. And so then he formed a belief, our being formed the belief that maybe he shouldn't have the money because of what his parents might have done, his father, whatever it might have been. It never matters. And so what you can understand is that breaking that consciousness, first you have to acknowledge, which is so brilliant. We're so glad that you've done this, because you acknowledge that there's a blockage there, and the blockage is energetic. Money is energy. You see, and so the way that you connect to it is that becoming yourself. That opens up another flow. But many of you have difficulty with this. This is why we say to our being, he's had difficulty believing that he had done this, which is who he was meant to become, but still believing that, oh, wait a minute, that's too much trouble, which is why he couldn't charge enough money for it. Again, it's energy. When you accept that you are this magnificent being, and yes, you're developing and you're coming up to what you're meant to bring into the world, then that energetic shift, which is about ownership and love of yourself, will open up the energy and flow of money to come to you. That's all. And so, but we're so pleased, and you must congratulate yourself for first acknowledging the blockage. We couldn't get our being to acknowledge the blockage for the longest time, which is why we did what we did over the last several days to bring this information to you all now, because you're at a time on your planet where more of you need to be should prosper. We not need. We don't like. We don't. You don't need anything. But we're being selfish here because we want you to prosper because we know that if you do that, you're going to make some difference in your world where you're not going to let people starve and you're not going to let the conditions that are occurring now to continue. But that has to come from you breaking the old binds that have kept you in poverty consciousness. And we're so glad that you use that because it is merely a consciousness, and you all have the ability to change that consciousness. This is why we have shown you that you do it over times, and we've given you our work in these sequential ways to allow you to access gradually this greater awareness. And then there's a opening that happens and the flow of money just starts coming to you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that question. And just letting you all know that the Q&A is now closed. Thank you for all of your questions. We are going to answer all of them. We have enough to take us to the end of this session. If you did not get a chance to ask your question in this session, please bring it to the next channeling session. Okay. The following experience is something that I judge to not be positive, and I do not understand why I would have attracted this energy. The other day, I attended a football game. A security guard exhibited intimidating behavior towards me during the entire game. The energy was dark, like a serial killer. When I arrived home, I got so angry I could not sleep, and I began notifying the venue. I couldn't understand how some guy that I didn't even know would target me. When I was in my 20s, I got attacked, and this was a very long time ago. I even had to testify in court. On Sunday, I received a thought that the security guard was the same guy who attacked me years ago. Can you tell me if this was the same guy?
It was the same energy. We're not doing physical form doesn't matter. It was the same energy. And he was presented to you, and you see, you ruined your game that day too, because you were focused on that, where you could have said, I'm going to love you. Let me go and find out. Oh, maybe something is happening with you that we don't understand. Is there a reason that you're giving me this look? Is there a reason that you because see, I've been through all of that before. I don't want to do that anymore. And so you're obviously showing up in my life so that I can choose to love myself now and know that I don't need to be afraid of you. That's all. And so don't judge yourself that you could not have made that decision in the moment, but you can make the conscious choice now to understand why you had the experience. And the experience was to have you let go of your trauma. Let go of your trauma of that old experience and decide to love those, even though you may not even understand why. You just wanted to love those. And so next time that you see that energy, because it wasn't necessarily the same person, but when you feel that energy, and even if it does happen to be the same person, you have the ability to rise above that and decide to love them and not allow them to control your spirit, because that's what has happened up until now. But we've given you enough to start to let go of that. Thank you.
Only about 5% of our cellular body is immune innate. The other 95% is exposed to all manner of traces and temptations of what we know and what we don't know. That 5% is 5 times what's necessary in the cosmic body. We are 1%, the one that makes the difference. It is faith, or is it grace, which dispels our doubt.
Okay. We've given you a message on grace. You all have it. You just have to decide when you accept it, and you use faith to accept it. So they all work together. And it's just a process, again, that you will move through. And you made the most beneficial statement in there, because when you understand that it is all consciousness, then you can let go of all the fear and judgments that you have about your physical bodies. As we've said, you use your physical body when you come into the earth plane to ascend, and you use that to come to understand who you are on the spiritual level. That's all. That's what occurs. And so you will do that by holding that faith, again, in terms of knowing that everything is working out for your highest good, no matter how it looks to you, because that is what is happening. It just takes you a while to figure that out, or to come to accept it. And then when you accept it, you experience a state of grace. And this is where we want all of you to move to, because the more of you who do that, you start to cause this planetary ascension to be what we want it to be, which means a more loving, inclusive planet, but it has to come through you. And that is what you're up to now. And we're so happy that you put that question together in this really profound prophetic way. And now you, because you have this information, now you're going to start to understand it on a much deeper level, and you will help so many others. Thank you.
I was raised a Catholic and still have a relationship with Jesus, but I now believe that religions are heavily influenced by humans.
Mhm.
I find such resistance and even anger when I read that people say that Jesus is our only savior and everything must be in Jesus' name. Why am I so emotionally challenged with this? I try to be non-judgmental, but I feel what is being said is damaging to our evolution.
We love you so much. We love you. Thank you so much for saying that. This is what we've been saying. And yes, it's connected to Jesus, because Jesus had the Christ consciousness. See, and he said to all of you, you can do what I have done and more. And so that more is about letting go of the restrictions and stop making others wrong. And that is what has happened with many of your religions. You will tell one another, this is how you have to be. This is what you, and if you don't believe this, you're going to hell or something like that. And that is never true. It's just something that you've used, and that is a control mechanism that has existed. And yes, many of your religions have put that into the ethers, so to speak. But this time in your world, this restructuring is about changing that. And it is about beings like you. This is why you're so emotional about it, because it's hitting you on this deep level, on this deep ancient knowing wisdom that you carry, that you know it's supposed to be different. And we love your passion, and your anger is bringing you to that awareness. But now we want you to take that awareness and turn it into love, and just be so proud of yourself that you came to this incredible wisdom, and you just didn't know how you were going to get there, but the anger and the frustration caused you to do. Yes. And so you came to break those old threads, which is what is happening in your planet. That's why you're having a restructuring. And many of you are wayshores, or are light workers, and you have that element. This is why you said, wait a minute, we can't keep doing the old thing. That's what you're all meant to do now. We're so pleased that you're there. But just temper your anger. We appreciate it, because we're glad that it brought up this awareness, but now move it into love and be proud of yourself for having this awareness. Thank you so much.
Hello, Wilhelm. Is the healing ever done?
Um, no. Well, okay. We don't. This is the difficulty. The words, let's take the words healing. When you take the word healing, you're already assuming that something was inherently wrong or damaged or broken or bad within you. This is why we like using ascension, because see, that is something that you're never done with, because there are more levels that you can always move to. But when you think that you've got to heal in some way, you have to also first assume that somehow you were wounded, that you were broken. Now, that does happen in your consciousness, you see, but you come into the physical plane to move through that, to transcend all of that. And that's why you do it through the process, which we have said is ascension, moving to the light. And you do that gradually, which is why, again, we've laid it out in the way that we have, so that you can understand it. So, It's never done, and we don't want you to get to that place where you think it's done, because then there's no place else for you to go. You can't get to the next level. When you realize that you're in a constant state of ascendance, meaning moving to something more, a greater understanding, more of the light, then you will be grateful that it's never done, because it just gets so much better the more you keep going. That's all. Thank you so much.
Dear Wilhelm, even though I am divorced from the father of my kids 2 years ago, we decided to come back together, even though he made the decision to remarry and have a child. Why did we attract each other back into our lives? Any unfinished situations there?
Oh, yes, you always have unfinished situations. And so, but you did something else, though. We wanted you to come. You you made such an unconventional choice because you wanted to demonstrate what could happen. Even though you decided to get divorced, you had kids though, and you thought, well, wait a minute, maybe it's better to demonstrate something to them that would help them come into greater awareness of who they are. Maybe when they get married, they won't even get divorced. But we decided to take this path so that we could be the demonstration of what is possible. And we're going to do that by doing something very unconventional, which is what we wanted all of you to do during this time, is to bring in something new, bring in a new awareness, a new way of doing something. And you have done that. So please, because we feel that you figure, why do we do this? This was crazy. No, you did something that was wonderful, because you're going to demonstrate, if you just keep staying into the love of everyone, all that are involved, wow, will you demonstrate something different that your world is waiting to see? So we feel that you think this. Wait a minute, this seems a little crazy, and people are going to judge us and think. No, we want you to own what you have done, because you have made the your kids and all those other involved more important than your ego. That's all. So thank you for your contribution.
And the final question is not so much of a question. As we round this out, uh, we just want to support a member of the community who is here, who put out a request for some love, and they are experiencing grieving and working through the passing of a beloved pet. And just wondering what Wilhelm has to say about this process and what
Uh,
they're going through.
Oh, just a wave of energy came through. We want you to understand that that path has left because they have given you so much love. They just want you to experience the love that they have given you. They can't stay forever. They have their soul to go. They have to go on their next journey. But they want you to appreciate what they have given you. And this is why you're feeling that emotion. And that's okay. You must let go. You all will have things that come into your life that cause you to grieve somewhat. And the grief is letting go of some material, physical, third dimensional belief idea that you have had in the pets. Pets can help you in that way when you understand that what they gave you was love. But they have their own journeys. You each have your own soul journey that you're moving on now, and so do the animals. And so you are just supposed to appreciate what they have given you to this point. We will give you one thing that will help you, because many years ago, Roger had this cat that he had adopted and loved and took care of, and she lived to be such an old age. But she started to get ill. And so she didn't want Roger to move through any of this. So she decided that one day when he opened his front door, she ran out. He never saw her again. See, because she knew that if she went and died and made her transition somewhere else, he wouldn't have to experience seeing that and taking care of it. So he was taking that animal was taking care of him. He felt the love. He knew that that was there, and you have the same thing. We just want you to appreciate that and just let them go in peace. Let them go in peace and thank them for the contribution that they made in your life and in your ascendance into who you're meant to become. Yeah, you're in such a great place. Thank you so much for that question.
And that was the final question. We are complete.
Thank you. We wanted to give you the final why we brought all this together today, because we wanted to show to you that you are in this most magnificent place in your life and on your planet. And we have given you all of this work, all of this time to help you come to understand that, so that you can end the kind of disruption that you're experiencing on your planet right now. We know that it's challenging for each of you to understand that you are that important, but we are saying you are. It is the energy that is needed, and that energy can only come through you and the life that you have lived. And we're giving you this because we want you to forget, to stop your judgment, to start you won't stop all of this, but we want you to temper your lack of belief, self-belief, because that's what is going to be the most important thing for you during this next period. This is why we have given you all of this work, and we would love for you to keep perusing it, keep moving through it, because you will see, even as you read the message for today, you will understand how this works. You will understand how your consciousness will be changed just in one day by reading all the messages that we've strung together for decades. And we just did it over several years now. But this is why you're here. We wanted you to understand that the more that you become yourself, you will have the lives that you want, and you will start to create the world that you all want to see, which is one of love, compassion, and inclusion that you have the ability to create. We love you all so much, and thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for being here.
Good stuff. I had to switch to my phone as my laptop is just not wanting me to be present with it, which is all right. So thank you everyone for joining, for asking those amazing questions. And yeah, now you can become more of yourself. And this is for you, this is for me, this is for Roger, for Stan. And I think we really want to make clear that we are all here together experiencing this human journey that we are on and moving through all of our challenges, and yeah, having a community to come together to share experiences, to ascend together, and to be on that process together with other friends, even soul family, is very important. So your life operating instructions, right, they're definitely working well. And if you're interested in being in closer contact with Roger, with me, with Stan, then please feel free to check everything out. The link 4 Weeks to Your Best Life is the awesome program where our students have received so much value in discovering who they are, why they're here, what their strengths are, what might holding them back from being themselves and really experiencing success and happiness in their lives. So yeah, just click the link. We are very grateful for you that you have been here today, that you share the space with us. We're sending you so much love, and we're looking forward to see you very soon again. And this is it for today. We're closing off. Save the link. You can also find it on rogerburnley.com if you're interested in finding out more about us. Alrighty, all our love, all my love to you. Have a beautiful day or night, whatever it is, and see you soon.
I find this work is very powerful. They change a lot very quickly. It's like quite surprising how things are changing for me.
I want to say how grateful I am that you've done this. And the time that you've put through on this is just amazing. And as we get older and we put through something like this into the world, you don't know the benefits of it until years later.
I just want to thank you for the program. Probably a year or two ago, if there was a tough decision to make, especially about money or anything like that, I would let fear and worry guide me away from a decision that might have helped me grow.
I have moved. I have made some positive changes. Hey, good, bad, or ugly, you did it. That's the main thing.
When you say the time is now, and I always appreciate it, because now more than ever, I feel a little bit more satisfied myself, because especially lately, I keep leaving a project not finished.
I love the program. I love the questions, but I think that being aware of everything that's inside of you and bringing it out onto paper, it really does make you step forward in that area.
The way the questions penetrate into your memory and into your past experiences is so unique. Yeah, it really goes deep very, very quickly. I mean, I'm only on day 3, but the way like the questions are presented and the things you read before and the whole steps you go through, probably a lot of people's experiences, but it goes really deep, really, really quickly.
I mean, every day has its difficulties, but like it's better than it was. You know, I mean, I'm doing more things that I enjoy, and like I find that I personally feel like I'm meant to do my book and everything, and then with the acting, I'm working on all that.
I've been taking so much courses, like especially with this pandemic, I approach different from Tony Robbins, from Bob Proctor, from Jack Canfield, and also I've been following Abraham Hicks, but never really brought me the result that I wanted to do it. So I'm very, I mean, this course is very more, I found that I think it's a bit faster.
Roger, I just wanted to say thank you again, because a few years ago I realised that voice coaching wasn't the only thing that I could do, and that I had something else. But I didn't know what it was. I had no idea what it was.
For a limited time, learn more about how Roger can help you step into your best life by going to 4weekstoyourbestlife.com today.